Oh, this is great. Continue or leave meeting, something. Oh. You can't see us or hear us.
Welcome everyone. We've got some people joining in here in these next couple minutes, so we'll give it a couple minutes to let everybody sign in.
Okay.
Are you gonna sit here? Look at my chair.
Yep. And
Yeah,
in the
I'm gonna move
meantime,
the
I'd
computer.
like to ask you guys to mute yourselves unless speaking or asked to speak, just so that we don't get a lot of feedback and whatnot.
Hey, good morning, Roberta.
Hi, this is Grace.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Abe.
Morning.
Hello, Abe.
Morning.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello, Philip.
Hello.
Morning.
Yeah, we want to give everybody a chance to log in.
Yep. So it looks like our waiting room here has all filtered in. So I think now might be a good time to go ahead and start with introductions, perhaps, Roberto.
Okay. First of all, I want to welcome everybody to our July meeting. We meet the first Saturday of each month. Our board of directors meets an hour before the community meeting to take care of our corporate business, if you will. And everybody is welcome to unmute yourself when you're asked to participate. Or if you get any questions that you want to ask, there'll be an opportunity after our guest speaker is finished with his presentation. But I want to welcome Grace Kennings and ask her to do the honors of introducing our guest speaker. Grace?
Hi,
But-
thanks, Roberto.
Well, wait a
and
minute.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, so you, so your introduction, hold on a moment while we get everybody else introduced, okay? And my name's Roberto Ravelis. Go on, our board members, identify yourselves, and then our guests.
My name is Matt Vartola, Secretary and Board Member of Gold Canyon Community Incorporated.
Charlie Goff, board member.
I'm Maxine Brown, Vice Chair and a member of the board.
I'm Jerry Stevenson. I head up the Transportation and Safety Committee.
May we hear from our guests?
I'm Phil Corcoran. How you doing? I'm a member.
Welcome, Phil.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
Philip Flood. I'm a member. Lived in the area for 25 years in Gold Canyon.
Yeah, this is Abe Guy. Good morning to everybody. I also have been around here 26 years or so.
Welcome.
I'm Ernie Klingbeil,
Welcome, Ernie.
new to the area, only been here 5 years.
We're Greg and Jill Delazinski, fairly new to the area.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, this is Connie Van Drill, former U.S. Forest Service, and I currently work for Jeff Surtees' office, Supervisor Jeff Surtees.
Welcome.
Hi, Connie.
Okay, I'm Roberta Russell, and I guess I qualify as an old timer. I've owned a home in Mountain Brook actually for 20 years, but moved here full time 15 years ago.
Thank you, Roberta. Next.
Oh, I'm Pat Whittick, Peralta Trails resident.
Thank you, Pat.
I'm Mary Cote, and I'm an Entrada del Oro resident. We've lived in the area 6 years, but have been coming down into the Gold Canyon area over 25 years.
Welcome. Did I see a gentleman, Bob Stewart or somebody there? Anybody else?
I just saw Bob. We'll take mute off.
Next guest. Matt?
I'm Bob Stewart, live in Gold Canyon, and I'm part of the Adobe group, but interested in your group also.
Welcome, Bob Stewart.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I think that covers it for the most part. So we can get into the introduction of today's guest speaker. I know it's a very important topic for us all here in the community to get our heads wrapped around. So Grace, I think you were going to provide the introduction.
Every year, as we know, devastating wildfires burn across the U.S. As a community member of Gold Canyon, having lived here 6 years now, I became increasingly uncomfortable by the threat of wildfire. And last year, after doing some research, I learned of Firewise USA, a site that would allow for us as a community to prepare ourselves in case of imminent fire, but also how to prepare our neighborhoods and our homes, specifically actions that can be taken to make the home safer from wildfire. I understood that there was a process to help the community to get started on this wildfire preparedness journey. And I made contact with Aaron Kasem, and Aaron was kind enough to come out. We met last year in June and did a thorough walkthrough of the neighborhood of Gold Canyon. We drove around for about 45 minutes, and he had a look at our community, made some recommendations, and bottom line is there is a certification process to become a Firewise USA site, and he left us with a lot of literature and a method of contact so that we could pursue the steps of becoming a Firewise USA site. So Aaron, I hope you remember me and our time together. Welcome.
I do, and first of all, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad we were able to have these conversations because I remember last year we were in the heart of COVID and it was very just tenuous and stressful time. So the fact that we're starting to come out of it a little bit and have these conversations is very exciting. So thank you for having me, first off. A little bit about myself. My name is Aaron. I work for the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. I am the State Prevention and Mitigation Officer. It's a long title, but really what that means is I'm in charge of all the wildfire investigations. Firewise USA, I am the state liaison that's under my umbrella of work. I'm also qualified as a helitack firefighter, crew member on an engine. This is my 21st year in fire. 19 of them have been here in the state of Arizona. Before coming to the state, I worked with the U.S. Forest Service in Wyoming and on the North Kaibab Ranger District on the Grand Canyon, and also on the Prescott National Forest. After my time with the Forest Service, I jumped ship. I went to the dark side. I went to the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM, and was there for a few years, working on both an engine and helitack crew. And then the opportunity came for me to come to state as a prevention officer. So it's great times because our agency is growing, and Firewise is that outreach and education program that we go out and we try to bring on as many communities as we can. Currently, we have about 116 communities statewide, and we'd like that number to grow. But it really is a program for homeowners at the grassroots level, and exactly that, to build defensible space, to make their homes as fire safe as possible, especially if those homes and properties and communities are directly adjacent to undeveloped lands, which Gold Canyon has that element. So when I was invited out, I got to see the lay of the land, the way the community was set up, and there were some good things, and there are also some areas that definitely needed some work, but nothing that wasn't undoable or nothing that wasn't unachievable. That side of the state, that particular part of your county has seen some pretty extreme fires. Actually, there's one right on the other side of your mountain right now as we speak. So because of the weather, because of the drought that we've been experiencing, because of the invasives that have been moving in and encroaching communities just like yours, the potential is there. And it's important to have these conversations as early as possible so we can put some action items in place moving forward. And that's really what Firewise is. It's just an organizing a community to get as many people involved to build that footprint, so you have that really good expanding defensible space that makes your community resilient to wildfires. And it really starts with a small group of people bringing others in. And again, the whole mission of this is everybody doing their part to, again, build that defensible space. So if there is a wildfire that's going to impact the area, it's going to burn with low intensity and not cause damage or loss of life, which is what we want to avoid. The process, for those of you who haven't been inside or don't know too much about Firewise, it's pretty simple. Back, I would say about 7 years ago, you used to have to fax in like hundreds of pages of documentation to become to be one, Firewise recognized, and two, that recertification process was an annual process, and you would have to submit similar amount of paperwork every single year. They've gone away from that. Again, there's no cost to the program. It really takes a small group of people, really one champion, to kind of spearhead the movement and manage the platform. So if this is something that you want to do, there's just a few steps. The biggest step is having that first conversation as far as bringing us out to do the assessment, which we've already done, but then taking that assessment, those recommendations, and seeing to what degree you guys want to become involved, whether it's, building defensible space, having homeowners retrofit their home, or competing for grants to potentially help with some of the abatement and mitigation efforts. That all gets detailed in what's called a community fire plan. And once you have that plan in place, the rest is pretty smooth. You would go into the NFPA site, you build like a portal or a site for your specific site. In this case, it would be Gold Canyon. And then from there, you just start documenting your work. The NFPA requires 1 hour's worth of volunteer, they call it sweat equity, per year for every participant that wants to be involved in the program. So the minimum is 8 structures or 8 homes in a community to participate, up to 2,500. So for every home that participates, that's 1 hour's worth of sweat equity that has to be documented. And they equate that based off of the national volunteer rate, which is $25.40. So, if you had a community of 10 and, all 10 homes did their 1 hour's worth of work, their minimum would be $254. That would be their minimum documented sweat equity that would have to be captured and then submitted onto the portal. Additionally, the community will do like one community Firewise day education event that could be held virtually, that could be on site. Pine Top Sholo, they do a huge block party where they bring resources in. They have dumpsters ordered, and the community gets out and they bring out their trash and their clippings and their branches into the streets, and it's either put into a dumpster or chipped in place. But that's one example of a Firewise Day. Up to a small community just doing a virtual exchange of information, that's also valid too. Once all of those events have been captured and documented, all of that gets uploaded onto the site and you submit it, and boom, that's how you get basically your certification and stay current. Is again documenting the work that everybody that's participating that's doing, holding a community Firewise Day, and then again just having that person that's going to be up on the site inputting all that documentation. As the state liaison, I help you with that process. If you need resources, if you need another set of eyes to help you with your walk around, if you want to have continued assessments. And then also on the NFPA side, that's the National Fire Protection Agency, Megan, who is awesome. Megan Fitzgerald, she would be your contact for any kind of tech support as far as in managing your site and the portal and making sure your documents are uploaded. It really is a simple process, and there's a lot of benefit to it. The first thing is you, again, it's a collective effort. It's not patched work where you have a checkerboard of properties doing their own thing. It's really a collaborative effort that, again, that's the best approach to do this, because you have everybody on the same side moving forward with the same prescription, with the same mission in hand, and you'll see some pretty significant growth if everybody calibrated the same way. The second benefit to it is when you become a Firewise site, you get so many resources from the state potentially, and then also just resources for your homeowner. This is one of the better things. I think I left it the last time I visited, but it's reducing wildfire risk home ignition zone. And the home ignition zone is basically what we call the home and the defensible space that we're trying to create. This is probably the best publication that we have that really outlines your property and highlights your areas of concern and gives you effective mitigation practices that oftentimes don't require a lot of money. It's just a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of time. But again, it's that process and program that gives you attainable goals, so you're not waiting till smoke is in the air to panic to do something. And that's what we don't want, because you're not going to have enough time if you have to get out in that situation. So again, it puts everybody on the same path moving forward, gives them actionable items. And again, there are
$8.30.
If you're a USAA member, which a lot of people are, you do get a 10% off discount on your homeowner's insurance by being part of a recognized Firewise program. Right now, they're the only insurance company or agency that's offering any kind of discount, but I see that as an incentive that I feel like a lot of insurance companies are going to offer moving forward. Our neighbors to the west, California, they're in bad shape when it comes to having insurance, especially insuring homes near or adjacent to undeveloped lands. A lot of carriers, they're just dropping them because they can't show that documentation of work or being part of a program that has done defensible space, that have done mitigation efforts, that have retrofitted their home. And that's really what Firewise does. It gives you a plan as a community, just sprinkle down to the homeowner to give them action items to make their space defensible. As the liaison, I'm local. I was in Gold Canyon yesterday, getting eyes on that smoke. I was actually in Peralta Canyon, scoping around because a lot of our state lands is closed. And I'll be out there this afternoon, patrolling the 60 and the 79 from Florence Junction south. So it's an area of concern for us on the state side as well. And, personally, if I know that a community is Firewise, as a first responder, as a firefighter, that gives me a tool, because I'm not going to put my guys into a situation where, if the homeowners or the community hasn't done any work, I'm not going to sacrifice my people for work that's already, or for homes or structures or property that's already lost. If I see a community that is Firewise, I'm going to know two things. I'm going to know there's been some good defensible space that's being created, and I know that there's some work that's been done to the home itself or around the home. So that gives me an advantage where I can put my people in there for the least amount of time and do the greatest amount of work. Because when it comes to, you know, fire response, when we're doing that initial response, it could be pretty quickly evolving process. And the least amount of time that we can work on your homes to get them prepped and ready to go, if that head fire is coming, it's an advantage for us. And Firewise gives you that plan that gets us calibrated with what you got going on. And again, it's a tool that we use that we love to see. And again, it lets me know that I can deploy my people for the least amount of time for the greatest amount of good. So there's, again, a lot of benefits to this. And I know I'm rambling right now, but again, once you become a Firewise program, you get to work with me. And, you know, I'm a partner with you, with your program. We do trainings annually. We do assessments to the homes. I have a crew of 6 people, and we will go out there and we'll actually do single home assessments and walk with you to look at what you have and make some recommendations for, you know, correcting some action or giving you some action items to, you know, better have defensible space around your home. Again, it's a win-win situation. I'm a big advocate of it. I'd like to double our Firewise programs in the next 10 years. And anything around the valley, again, we've seen a lot of large wildfires that are not normal to our area because we've had such an expanse in population growth. And again, with all of our invasives that we've been seeing with the globe chamomile and the red broom, we're seeing a lot more fuel basically coming up that's creating, and that's really the fuel that's really fueling these large wildfire growth. We're going to be in this situation for a few years. And again, Firewise is a great tool for communities to have to work on because it's the biggest deterrent. It gets everybody calibrated with the one single focus with a good program that, again, preps the community, preps the homeowner to make their area as resilient to wildfire as possible. So with that, I'm going to leave it up to a lot of questions that you may or may not have for me about the program, next action items, and we'll kind of go from there if you're okay with that.
Yes, and if you unmute yourselves as you're asking for questions and identify yourself. I have a first question, Mr. Kaysen. How long a timeline would you suggest would be required for an area like Gold Canyon to put a plan into place?
Not long. The plan, that's a great question. The plan drafted by the community, but we also have help you create that plan based off our assessment, and we'd also pull in partners. So who is the Superstition Fire and Medical do your fire program? Okay. Yeah, they're a strong partner with us. So we'd get them involved as well. I don't know if our federal partners would want to be involved, but for the most part, I'd give you like a template to run with. But usually the creation of the plan takes about 30 days at the most. The biggest thing is having all the agencies, all the players sign off on it. And they one, recognize that you're working on it. And two, if there's any exceptions that they have with it, if there's things that they want to add from their agency as far as support, that's the timeliness of that sometimes takes a long time. And we're in the middle of fire season. So that specific person who may be that point person that would have to help you may be on a fire assignment. So usually it's about a month, but with fire season, it may take a little bit longer because people are kind of scattered to the wind with all the incidents that's going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll
Aaron,
manage the hands going up. So Jerry, I saw your hand going up first.
great. I'm Jerry Stevenson from Mountain Brook. Since we're bounded by the Forest Service and Arizona State Trust land, how have you got examples? I mean, like Arizona State Trust has got a huge portion against Del Oro and us. Would they put in some money and help us on some of their areas, like say put a 100-foot boundary along between the homes and their property? I mean, is there some precedent where we could ask them to partner with us?
I think the biggest thing is having me go out there because we provide the fire protection for all state lands. So the biggest thing is being, I don't want to say putting them on the spot, but calling it out. Have you had any kind of dialogue with state lands about your situation, about specific areas of like concern?
You know, this is Jerry. I'm not. I'm just wondering from a big picture, what other communities have done, because Sholo and others, or others that you deal with, probably have got some cooperation from not only the local fire, but also from forest and Arizona state land. I just, maybe that's already been solved. Maybe there's precedence. That's my point.
Absolutely. So it only helps your situation if you have that kind of adjacency to state trust and to the Fedland, because it opens your community up to grants. And a lot of times those grants, they'll fund grants.
Okay, good.
On specific, like if your lands are adjacent to federal, to Forest Service land, there's Forest Service money for mitigation. And again, it takes a little bit of work, but that's where you bring me into the fold. We write that plan, and that's where that planning process is. We invite the Forest Service and we invite state lands. We've identified the areas, you know, this is our top 5 priority areas that are directly adjacent to our area, what's available to us. And if the community doesn't have the funds to do it, and that's where we come in and say, hey, the community may not be able to fund these projects, but we can. And about a month ago, Governor Ducey put out the Healthy Forest Initiative Act that opens up millions of dollars for mitigation. So a lot of times we have the money, but not a lot of projects have been identified. And that's another benefit for Firewise, is if you're calling for large scale mitigation and it's in your plan, you can come to State Forestry and say, hey, we're a Firewise program. We're looking for, 200 feet of defensible space created, on one side of our property. What's available? And that's where we get our crews together. That's where we get our grant funds together, and we help you out. So yeah, that's a benefit to that kind of adjacency. Yes.
Okay, great. Connie, I believe that's the next person that we've had with their hand up.
Yes, good morning and welcome, Aaron. I'm a current wildland firefighter for the National Forest. I also work for Supervisor Jeff Surdy in Pinell County.
Okay.
One thing we've done, and we'd love to invite you to, is that we've started a public land state, federal, and city agency group. And one of the discussion groups out of that just came out Monday when we had our second meeting is Wildland Fire Fuels Management and Fire Prevention Group. And it is seated by the Superstition Fire Medical District.
Yep.
Also the Incident Management Teams, IC Alan Sinclair.
Yep.
Also former Fire Management Officer Don Van Drill from the Tonto. We have the BLM Phoenix District Fire Management Officer, the Tonto National Forest current Fire Management Officer, the Gila County Supervisor Woody Klein, who's a former Forest Service Fire Management person, and Dan Colgan from your office, I believe. But we would love to have you as well.
Sure.
So if I can get your contact information, or I'll put mine in the chat and maybe you can get it from there. We'd
Okay.
love to have you as part of that, that discussion group.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're here.
Matt, who else?
Well, we have no more hands up. So if anybody would like to speak up or put up their hand here in the Zoom call, feel free to do so.
Very good. Well, Mr. Cason, thank you very much for a very informative presentation. And it's one that underscores that there is a benefit for communities like ours that have fuel loads surrounding our areas to come together and benefit as a community, but also as personal households. I recall that in our previous meeting with you that you identified the benefits to individual homeowners associations or homeowners on their insurance policies that they benefit through this program. So thank you very much for a very good presentation, and wish you well. And we will be working with you, and I'm certain, as we decide to move forward with a Firewise community plan.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Anything I can do for you, let me know. I finally have a staff of 6 now. So if you need me to do a smaller presentation or do a follow-up, even like provide a training for the homeowners to assess their own properties, I do that. There's no cost for the resources, for my time. So long we can do it in advance and get you on the schedule. Let me know how I can help you, but you guys aren't in it by yourselves. There's a lot of resources out there, and anything that I can do for you, you know, feel free to let me know. I love engaging the community. I love getting out. Again, that's part of my patrol route anyway. So again, if it's easy and reasonable, let me know how I can help you, and I'd be more than happy to swing out there or do another meeting. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kasem. Does anybody else, before we sign off, please feel free. It's an open mic. You are welcome to make a comment, ask a question on Mr. Kasem's presentation, or any other matter of concern to you as a resident of Gold Canyon. Anybody?
This is Maxine Brown. Could you put up your phone number again, Aaron? I didn't get it down.
I'm gonna Zoom is like really funky with my setup here. Let me try and write it up. Just a second, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Send to everyone. All right, here we go.
You could just tell me so I can get it written down.
Yeah, 602 771 1403. That's my desk number, but the best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone, and that number is 602 499 4271.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. If you want to talk like Phoenix Suns, Arizona Cardinals, you want to exchange recipes, let me know. I got a new tray I haven't used yet. If you got any smoking ideas, let me know. I'll be there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, and if nobody else has any comment or recommendation, suggestion, please feel free to attend, participate in our monthly community meetings. It's the first Saturday of each month at 10 a.m. By Zoom for the time being. Hopefully we'll get to a point soon where we can have in-person community meetings. Absent any other.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Roberto, this is Roberta.
Yes.
Is the entire
Yes,
meeting
Roberta.
being adjourned right now?
Unless somebody has something else they want to discuss.
Okay. I do have something I want to discuss. I don't know how many people here attended the meeting at the Methodist Church the other night about pending development of the area between Peralta Homes Development and Entrado del Oro. This is a major issue that could have huge impact on the Gold Canyon community. And I'm wondering if this particular organization is going to be involved in that.
Yes, in fact, we have been involved, and we discussed it the hour before the community meeting this morning. Our board of directors has made a decision to continue to try to provide a service to all of the Gold Canyon residents by conducting on a monthly basis between now and October information sessions where we will discuss the process by which anybody, regardless of their point of view, can participate in what is evolving as a recommended amendment to the major comprehensive plan of Pinal County. And we want to do this on a monthly basis so that everybody can have full access to the dynamics of the process, because nothing is set in place. There unfortunately is a lot of misinformation that is circulating in the community, and we want to be sure that we provide objective information on the process involved. It is a dynamic process. It's a very open process. It's one that I personally have participated in, as have others in our community through the Pinal County Planning and Zoning Commission. So yes, Roberta, we are concerned and we want to pass along information that will be instructive, informative, so that people can represent their point of view regardless of what it is.
Well, I think a huge concern is the fact that this is moving on a very compressed timetable.
Yes.
They're basically going to vote October 1st. We're
Yes.
just hearing about it July 1st. So we basically
Yeah.
have 3 months,
Yes.
just 3 months to formulate a plan and work on this and provide input.
Yes, and I have the schedule in front of me, and that's what is driving our scheduling of information sessions, so that the public can have timeliness in learning about how they can participate and protect whatever interests they are concerned about. But nothing will be put in place until after the Planning and Zoning Commission has their hearings and they make their recommendations. But the decision-making body is the Board of Supervisors, all 5 of them, who represent different geographical sections of Pinal County. So yes, you're absolutely correct that it's moving on a tight timeline. And so we want to be sure that we provide timely information so that people can participate at each of these opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because it is a critically important issue for Gold Canyon.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Yes, Ernie.
I live in Peralta Trails, and we received the letter notifying us about the meeting. Many people that I know, like up along Kings Ranch and Mountain Brook, had no idea about the meeting because they weren't within the 1,200 yards of the boundary that they were talking about. When you reach out to the community, how are you going to do that? Are you going to have like a mass mailing to every address of Gold Canyon?
Ernie, we use every social media available, including the Apache Junction Independent News. It's an electronic feature, which is daily. The Gold Canyon Public Radio Station, next door outlets that cover all of the area. So yes, you're right. It's a challenge to get the information out to people beyond the 1,200 yard limit. And so, yes, we will use all of the existing organizations, the homeowners associations, and other social media outlets.
All right, if you include the homeowners associations, I would imagine they'd send out a mass email blast to everybody.
Yes, thank you for that, for raising that point.
I also have a question.
Go ahead.
I was at the meeting, and he stated at the meeting that the zoning would not be done until after the property was sold.
No, the zoning will be subject to the October 31 meeting by the Board of Supervisors that will either approve, disapprove, or continue consideration of the recommendation from a P&Z. So it is not a certainty that it will be done after the property is sold. The comprehensive plan sets in place the ordinances by the Pinal County government on what is done and how it is done in the area of Pinal County. So
Roberta, maybe
we will attempt to clear that up at the very first community meeting that we organize.
Charlie Goff here, board member and president of SALT. There was a discussion at that meeting of that whoever purchases it may have to do additional zoning application. And they certainly will have to go before planning and zoning. But the proposal itself at this stage does include change of zoning, change from present zoning to what you all got. And in the letter on the back of it had the two maps, the present zoning, the proposed zoning changes. That doesn't prevent additional zoning changes at some time in the future, but it's all a very public process.
Yes, and that's the important thing to underscore. It is an open, transparent process. Gold Canyon happens to have two members on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And so it's their responsibility to be alert to the issues facing the Gold Canyon area. But the Planning and Zoning hearings are publicized, they're open to the public, and so there's no certainty that anything being proposed today will be what will result on October 31, because like I say, the Board of Supervisors can approve, disapprove, or continue the recommendations they receive from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Roberto,
Any other observations?
Yeah,
Yes,
Roberto, this is Abe. Did the subcommittees meet? Was there anything that the board wants to address the general membership here in your 1 hour meeting before this happened?
We had reports from our three major committees. Jerry, would you report on yours, please? Jerry Stevenson.
Yeah, glad to do that. This week we had this is on the roads and transportation and safety committee. We had a very good meeting with some of the council members from Green Creek, Mesa, and Chandler, talking about getting funds for the transportation group so we can improve maintenance on all roads in Arizona. It sounds like an overreach in a little ways, but we have found that since we have a lot of problems, as we all know, on Highway 60 in Gold Canyon, we need to take a piece of that elephant, get to know the players, including Greg Anderson and others. And this was a great opportunity to increase our presence and make our issues known. So we continue to move forward. We've actually had a very good meeting with Adobe as well on combining efforts for discussions on road improvement, and they're going to continue on a monthly basis. Thank you.
All right, Charlie Goff, would you report on your Conservation and Aesthetics Committee?
Am I unmuted?
Yes, I hear you.
You're good.
Okay. Yes, and I'm on the board and head up the conservation group. I also am president of SALT, the Superstition Area Land Trust, who has long had a major interest in conserving the open space in the vicinity of Gold Canyon and beyond, particularly relative to the south side of the Superstition Wilderness area. And we continue to be very engaged, having weekly meetings of various types to try to enhance conservation. Despite the raucous nature of the meeting the other day, I am at pains to point out that there was some good in that. It's not everything we want, but the present zoning would give very little protection from up to 3.5 houses per acre right adjacent to the east side of Gold Canyon, except for the extreme northern side, almost to the wilderness area. They brought that down all the way down to Peralta Road so that we would no longer have, it would be the change of zoning to the most low density. It's not no density, but what hopefully will be open space with no residences, but there certainly couldn't be more than one house per, I don't recall if it's 1 acre or 1.25 acres. So that's a major change. There are other open space and conservation goals that we might have. And I think both organizations, Gold Canyon Community Inc. and SALT, are continuing to monitor that and are not anxious to put out what our absolute position is on that sort of thing until we have a chance to have more conversations and hopefully extract more concessions. But I think both organizations are on it.
Thank you, Charlie.
So I'm sorry, Roberta. We have a question that's come up in the chat from Bob Stewart. Bob, are you, so he has asked, may I have contact information for this organization? Bob, I'm assuming you're talking about SALT.
This organization referring to which organization, Mr. Stewart? Well, Matt, would you put down information?
Yeah, so Jerry has followed up. Maybe he's gotten off the call. Well, no, still on the call. So yeah, we've got information for GCCI input, and Charlie, maybe if you could just throw in some contact information into the chat for SALT, that should cover all the organizations that we've been discussing here.
Okay, I'm trying to get
Is Bob Stewart on, still on?
Appears so. Just needs to unmute.
He's on mute. Can you unmute him?
No, I cannot.
He's self-muted. He's
Okay, can you
self-muted.
hear me now?
Gotcha now. Yep.
Okay, this is Bob Stewart. I do belong to the Adobe group, and I'm very interested in the Gold Canyon community and the SALT. I never heard of the SALT before, so I've been in Gold Canyon for almost 3 years now, and want to do whatever I can do to help everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. So we've posted information there for the organizations that you inquired about. Charlie is posting it now.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm trying to, I hit return a little too quick, but I'll get it there.
Okay. And it looks like Connie has a question. She's got her hand raised. Connie, go ahead.
Yeah, Charlie, I didn't know if you had discussed the DOJ judgment on Resolution Copper and what's going on with that.
I did in the main meeting. I might review that quickly, and I can't type and do that both at the same time, so hold with me. There was a release a week or probably a little more than a week ago. I think it may have been the 25th of June from the U.S. Department of Justice, saying essentially that there is no reason that the Resolution Copper a land exchange could not take place. Now that, for those of us who are plugged into that, means that the Biden administration presumably will, within, we hope, a few months, release the the comment period for the final environmental impact statement, or some of you hear it called the final EIS, for approval of the Resolution Copper Mine. And some of you are probably saying, what's that have to do with us here? Well, probably quite a bit, but from a conservation and open space standpoint, it's almost certain that there will be a rather large sum. I don't think I'm out of place to say up to $100 million or more of equalization payment from Resolution Copper to technically Region 3 of the U.S. National Forest Service in Albuquerque. But lots of things that suggest that that money should be used for conservation in Arizona, and more specifically near the area of impact, which we are. We hope to influence that money be spent on purchasing some of the state trust conservation land and make it permanent conservation land. It should be pointed out that because something is zoned, some land that state trust owns is zoned conservation, doesn't really cause it to be permanently conserved. As long as state trust owns it, there's the potential of it being sold for development or other purposes. The only way to get it permanently conserved is to buy it at auction. It gets a lot more involved than that, but you have to buy it at auction, and conservation organizations can participate in those auctions if they can find enough money. That's the shorthand version.
Thank you.
Enough, Connie?
Anybody else with
Yeah,
any
that's
other,
great. Thank you.
anybody else with any other comment, question, or suggestion? Compliment, criticism? We've got.
Don't go away yet until I finish the content.
Yeah.
I've got an email down there, and I'm trying to get a
Finish your work in silence, Charles, and we'll concentrate on anybody else have any other comment.
We've got Jerry.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Jerry, go ahead. You might be muted.
Roberto, it's Jerry. Mary, are you still on the line? I wanted to ask you about the new development in Del Oro. You're in the existing Del Oro community, correct? And
yes, we're over. Yes, we're over in one of the original areas.
And what don't know. What's the plan for the? Is there going to be just more homes? So it's construction started, right?
Yes, it's all just homes. I believe it is considered the phase 2 section of Entrada del Oro. I don't know very much more. Like I said, I was just very interested because when I attended the meeting the other night, my concern is whatever employment business kind of buffets up against the other side of Entrada on the Camino Viejo Road and the main entrance. So, that was a little concerning to me. So yeah. I figured it's time to get involved or find out.
And Mary, this is Roberto Reveles.
Yes.
One of the topics that has not been mentioned this morning is water. Water, the lack thereof, will have a very distinct impact on any further development here in Pinal County in particular.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, as recent as this morning, there is a major article that talks about the money that has been budgeted for over $100 million to try and find a way out of the lack of water. But as of now, I think it's reasonable to assume that unless a developer already has a certificate of assurance that they can provide 100 years of water, they are very unlikely to proceed to get approval for development.
Thank you for that information. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, Mary.
Yeah, Mary, this is Jerry again. One last question. Does your HOA, is there just one HOA there, or is there two HOAs in your community?
I am assuming we only have one HOA.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, I'm not sure if anybody in GCCI has reached out to you yet, but we'd like to get involved, have some reciprocity with who's the HOA president, and maybe yourself. Maybe if you could, outside this meeting, send some information to us, that would be great.
Oh, yes, because when someone else said previously, Entrada del Oro did not find out about the meeting last week until everybody started floating it on Facebook and Nextdoor, and it was like, what? That's kind of close to us.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's the
So
whole
I
point.
I can send you our HOA information.
That would be great, because then there's not going to be so many surprises, right? Because a lot of people didn't find out, and Facebook worked, and that would be helpful down the road, just to have a contact.
Oh,
distributing.
absolutely. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Anybody else with any other concerns, topics they want to bring up?
Information, Charlie Goff with SALT and the Gold Canyon Community Inc. Board, to Mr. Klingbeil in particular, who says he lives in Peralta Trails. So do I. But anyone else from anywhere else, I'd certainly like to hear from you. I posted the email and phone number, which unfortunately will only get you a place to leave a message, but that should be a start. And I would see that from either venue pretty quickly and could contact you. If you want a phone call, leave a phone number with that message.
Okay, if nobody else has anything more to add, ask one more time. If not, meeting is adjourned until our next meeting, first Saturday of August. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Roberto.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
very much.